when you're in a relationship, be it a family relationship, an acquaintance, a co-worker, a neighbor, the both of you have to want the relationship to work. And
So we are doing great.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for coming. Now, my people, we have here David Chambers and Donna Marie Chambers, very much from our homeland, Jamaica. And they're involved in the church. And one of their main involvement includes the marriage ministry program. But I just did that little bit of introduction, and Donna and Uncle David, could you give us a little more about yourself, please? Thank you.
Sure. So I yield to my wife first.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. And this is a wonderful thing happening. And I really hope that all of you will get something to take away from this wonderful conference that Carrie Ann has so wonderfully put together.
Thank you.
So we are David and Donna Marie. And in June of this year, we will be celebrating 35 years of marriage. And we were in relationship for 3 years before our marriage. So gosh, I'm heading up into 40 years with this one man. Oh my.
Before I was born.
It's been a ride. I can tell you, it's been a ride, a great ride. But there has been bumps along the way, and thank God we have been able to work through all our bumps so far, and we're still together, and we want to be together, and we want to be together for another 40 years, right, Dee?
Indeed, darling. and speaking of bumps, we're still working on some of the bumps, because in life you will always, my dear folks, have bumps.
Yes.
Any which way you spin the coin. And the most important thing is how we deal with the bumps. But as the talk progress, you'll hear a little more some of those ideas.
So 3 of our bumps are called daughters. 3 daughters we have. Our eldest is married, going into her 10 years. She's 8 years, 9 years this year, I think. So So the other 2 are still at home with us, but they are living very full, wonderful lives. Our second is in her 30s. We're still praying that she will find the right relationship, but believe me, she's living her life until that time comes.
Which is right.
Right. And our baby is in a relationship. She's been in that relationship since she has been in 6th form, high school, and they're going strong. And we're also praying that they will find their way, hopefully, to the sacrament of marriage. But if not, in the meantime, they are, learning about each other and loving each other. And it's a great thing to see.
And that's a very good component, because we need to learn the partner that we want to spend the rest of our life with. Even though you can't just learn everything off the bat, it's a process, but still, the most you can get before you make that decision.
Well, Carrie, at our wedding reception, the MC told us that it takes the first 99 years
to know your partner.
All right, so we're not able to do so eventually, which is right, I believe.
So it tells us that whenever you're in a relationship, it's a work in progress.
Absolutely.
Because as you go through age and stage, things will crop up, things will develop, and you have to deal with them accordingly. And during that process, you may just very well find you're learning something new about your partner that you didn't know before. And as I said before, the most important thing is how it is dealt with.
Yes.
So we want to share with you some thoughts and ideas that we have, because since we have been married 35 years and we have some experience that we want to share. We are in the business of sharing our life's marriage as we do so during our activities, during our lifestyle, those who come to us, those who ask us questions. And we are by no means perfect in all our dealings, but with our experience, we can share some thoughts and ideas.
Yes. Okay.
Over the years, David has been more of a stable person in terms of his work life. And I have been the one that has been the floater, so to speak. So I have been involved in many different facets of life, and I've met a lot of people over the years. Um, we do activities with young people. We do activities with married couples, engaged couples. We do activities with persons whose marriages need healing. And right now, in our latter years, if you want to call it that, David is retired, and I am also retired because of the fact that I have to look after David. He has had some health issues, and I have to look after my mother, who also has health issues and lives with us. So we spend our time basically going wherever we are needed and doing whatever we can to help.
Awesome.
We've been experiencing a lot with relationships over the years, friends, family, strangers. And one thing that we have discovered and that we would love to leave with you, the only thought, if you ever think back on us after this conference is over, is to remember that we said, when you're in a relationship, be it a family relationship, an acquaintance, a co-worker, a neighbor, the both of you have to want the relationship to work.
Okay.
And if you see that you are the one that's doing the work and the other person isn't, then that is when you will have to pause to decide what your strategy is going to be, or whether you're going to pursue this relationship, or whether you need to take it to prayer, because sometimes some of us, that's the only way we can respond, when we are prayed for and prayed over. But the most important thing is that you be yourself and do what you know is right. Be the best person that you can be and true to yourself, and you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong.
All right. Awesome. Just be authentic.
Yes.
Just do you. Just do
Yes.
you. So
Yes.
you need to know yourself as an
Yeah.
individual to some extent.
Absolutely. Spend time loving yourself, finding yourself, and knowing yourself.
And
Awesome.
bear in mind, while doing all of that, you may end up in um, trying several relationships then, because you may have discovered that when building up yourself and finding about others, that he or she may not just be the person I want to develop a relationship with. So you move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And that's healthy, as long as you don't take it to a particular level that at the end of the day you're being hurt, or being left alone carrying a baggage or being
Disadvantaged.
disadvantaged. So you have to
Yes.
bear that in mind as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. A lot of us tend to have this needy like component part of us
Yeah.
that we think that probably we are seeking love, and we think that we need to find it elsewhere in another person,
Yeah.
and that's how we often get hurt and left behind. So as I mentioned before, we need to be authentic and know
But
ourselves
I
first.
think one of the first things one need to do though in trying to establish a relationship is
Yes.
try to find about me, discover
Me.
me.
Who am I?
Who am
Yes.
I?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
What are my boundaries? What are my expectations? And once you have developed that, it makes it easier to get involved in a relationship with others, because then you know what you can put up with and what you are not willing to put up with. That's the
Right.
first thing you need to do. If you don't do that, it's going to be very difficult. People will take you for a ride. Oftentimes that's what happens, and people end up being hurt, and
Yes.
so they are not they have developed a untrustworthy system that they don't want to deal with anybody anymore, because it's not necessarily because of the other person, but because of you really don't know who you are.
Yeah.
So discover yourself first.
And one of the things that we need to be aware of, Carrie, is the influences of the world around us,
Yes.
our own flesh, and the tactics of the devil, because
Yes.
these are real things, and they influence how we think, how we behave, how we respond, how we interact. And sometimes we are in it and we don't even realize that we're being controlled by these things. And so we have to every day make conscious effort to understand who we are. And one of the ways that we can do that is by loving ourselves, speaking and feeling ourselves, and having a relationship with our maker so that we can truly understand who we are. Once I understand who I am and I love who I am, I can love anybody else, because
Yes.
it's really just a matter of adjusting.
Yes, awesome. Angela B says in the chat, thank you for saying that. I have done all the things you guys are saying, but I still haven't met the right person. So thank you for acknowledging that in the process, we still may have to experience different relationships before finding that right person.
And indeed, she's correct. Um, you see, and she must never ever lower her standard as well in doing so, because she may end up getting in trouble when she has lowered her standard. Guys like when women have high standard, believe it or not. They
Really,
may,
I think they're afraid of that too. I think that pushed them away.
they, you see, you have to be
Pick up the
careful
pace.
how it is leveled. You don't want to come across as a pushover or very demanding. You have to take your time. But during all of that process, don't lower your standard, right? You can be firm, you can be aggressive but firm, but loving same way, be and kind the same way. In other words, once he knows where you stand, listen, he need to stay how he goes. If he goes, then that means
His loss, his loss.
there's a heat
Yeah,
in the
right.
kitchen,
He's lost.
there's a heat in the kitchen that he cannot take, so he goes. But that may be his loss, as Donna Marie says.
Yeah. But Angela, one of the things I want to say to you is this. Remember that all of us, our lives are set out and orchestrated by God from the moment we were put together in our mother's wombs.
Amen.
And we don't know what God has planned for us. We don't know the when, the why, the where, the how, anything like that. So what we have to do is just exist as self-loving human beings until the various events that God has lined up for us comes into place. You don't know whether that gentleman is near or far. And I may even go out on a limb and say you don't even know if there will be a gentleman, because maybe God wants you for himself. I don't know. But what I am saying
Yeah,
is,
that's true.
yeah,
That is in the mix. We have to bear that in
yeah,
mind.
yeah.
Oh,
And
like you're talking to Angela, Auntie Donna, and me. Stop it. It's your
well,
word.
listen, we have a friend, you know, she did not get married until she was 47.
There's hope.
And when she got married at 47, she went straight in and had 2 babies by the time she was 50.
Damn. I love that.
So I'm saying to you, listen, we all have a story
Yes.
that God wrote for us. And we all have a story that we have to live. And even if we get ahead of ourselves, it doesn't mean that that is the way it's going to happen, the way we're thinking. So I have learned, let me put it here that way. I have learned over the years that the best thing to do is to live your life one day at a time.
Amen.
And just love yourself each day that God gives you. And just let the rest fall into place and trust God.
Yes. Let go. You know, to say, let the rest fall into place. Yesterday, I got that message again. You know, for years, I've been getting it. Let go. But how do I let go?
Yes.
Somebody's got another message that says, surrender.
Yes.
But how do I surrender? But yesterday, I got a conviction in the spirit realm.
Yeah.
And I think I'm on that part of letting go, like officially.
Listen,
No.
it's not easy. And it's not easy to surrender, and it's not easy to let go. It's not something that we come into this world wanting to do. It is
Right.
something that we have to learn and cultivate and understand that God out there that made us is the greatest thing. Look at what he has done. Look at the world that we live in. Look at everything about the world, and you will see that God is no joke.
Yes.
So let him just do his thing, and you will be surprised how wonderful. I mean, when David and I got married, we knew we were in love. We knew that we wanted to spend our life together. We knew that we wanted to build a life together. but we really did not know what the heck was coming on that day when I kept saying I do and he kept saying I do. We had no idea what was coming. Trust me. And every one of us that gets involved in a relationship, and especially if it ends in marriage, we have no idea what we're getting into. And what we have had to do is just live our 35 years one day at a time and take the licks when they come and laugh with the joys when they come, celebrate when it comes, and feel sorrow when it comes, because it's all part of the mix.
Yes. Janelle asks, how can one differentiate between love and loneliness?
And
Loneliness.
Oh, love and loneliness. How can you differentiate between love and loneliness? Wow. Well, that's certainly two different things.
All right, let me see if I can make an attempt by starting with loneliness. As when we are born, well, as we are born, we're born into a family. We are born with at least a mom. Even if dad runs away, at least we are born with a mom. And with the Jamaican context, usually you have aunts, uncles, or cousins, or some other family member around. So even if dad is not around, you're with your mom and other relatives. What really should happen in an occasion like that is that a child should really feel welcome into that family setting. So at the end of the day, that person really should not be lonely or feel lonely. But I would imagine as time goes along and one gets older into puberty, into young adult, there are certain inhibitions that one has and one needs to, and one craves for maybe a partner or a kind of friendship that one desires and may not find it. So they may classify themselves as lonely. I don't know if that's where if I'm going down the right road where that is concerned. However, what one must recognize as one gets older through your primary school days, your primary days, your high school days, into young adulthood, you have to start work on self so you can start work on a relationship. And when I say a relationship, I'm not necessarily meaning boy-girl relationship, but how do we get along with others? How do I get along with people? How do I get along with my people in my community? How do I get along with people in the workplace, or the church, the community clubs, etc.? And from there on, you will know that you are not a lonely person. If you are not getting along in those categories, then something is wrong with how you relate to people, and then you need to look at self. During all that process, one should be growing up in love. Love should be showing in the home. Love should be shown from the school, by the teachers, the principal, the administrative staff. Love should be shown by all your family relatives, including the church, pastor, and church members. So one should really feel loved. And ultimately, we are all loved by God, irrespective of what we do. And we need to bear that in mind. I think a lot of us walking around with guilt on our shoulders, because the things we have done are things people may have done to us. And so we may not feel loved. So again, I go back to discovering self.
Let me just jump in here. For me, it is unfortunate, but there are some of us that experience loneliness even when we are in relationship, whatever kind of relationship we are in. We do experience loneliness. It's unfortunate, but it is a reality for some people. I mean, I have experienced moments of loneliness in my own life. What I have come to learn to combat loneliness is to remember two things: that I'm a child of God and I love this child of God. I have come to love her very, very much. So much so that if nobody else loves me, I'm good. I love myself. And the other thing is that God loves me because he created me and he gave me the opportunity to be alive, and I'm still alive. So therefore, I am gifted every day with the day that he gives me another day of life. And so I combat loneliness that way. Another way that I combat loneliness is to pray. I just try to get myself into that mode of being in touch with nature, being in touch with him through his many gifts, and through the talents that he has given me and so forth. Love, we have to remember, is twofold. It's a noun. It describes something that we experience, deep love, and it's a verb. It's when we act on it and we feel love and we initiate love and we give love and we receive love. So sometimes one of the reasons why we become lonely is because we're not receiving the love that is being given to us, whether it is family members or co-workers or whatever the case may be. And I'm meaning love in a very general way now, because sometimes when we are in other relationships other than sexual relationships, then we have to understand that a lot of things still apply. Love is just love.
Yep.
Amen.
Love, just love. And you need to learn to love yourself. Love conquers all,
Yes,
but it
yes.
starts with self-love. Awesome. So I love the way in which we keep mentioning faith and God. And as such, should a person's belief system, you know, should they have that belief system when it comes to religion to strengthen their relationship? Is faith important in relationship?
I believe a belief system is important for individuals in life. I firmly believe also that faith and a conviction in something as important as a God is also important. We believe that God created us. He created us because he loves us and he shows us how to love. And in turn, all he asks for us is to love him. So we do
Yeah.
believe in a faith system, and that faith system should be embodied in God.
Yeah.
Amen.
You, if you don't believe in a system, a faith system, then you end up a wandering gang. Sometimes a useless gang, sometimes a mad gang. You know, I mean, we have to be grounded somehow, some way, and our faith system is usually that. Now, we're not necessarily pushing God on people, but
No.
but we have to remember that we wouldn't be here if there wasn't God. Whether you embrace him or not personally, you know, God made this earth and he is the one that founded the life, and that's the life that we live. And from the moment we come out of our mother's womb, there is a relationship formed. So we have relationships. Um, Relationships must be something that we are guided by, and we must have principles and morals and ethics to work with in order to be able to be somebody who is worth being in a relationship with. So faith is definitely a basis from which we can start.
Yeah, it certainly helps when we have certain parameters working with, and we want to think that faith is one such parameter that persons should have in their individual lives and in relationships as well.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Persons may think that institution put in place to protect marriage, they are failing because marriage being a sacred union, these institutions are failing. And a few persons pointed out that look at the scandal in churches or even in parliament, with marital affairs going on, and then the music, the social entertainment, the music that they promote about cheating and all these things. It's definitely failing. What are your take? What is your take rather on that? That institution put in place are failing.
I have plenty take on that.
Sometimes, folks, it's not necessarily the institutions per se. Sometimes it's the individuals that belongs to these institutions that are failing. God himself has made covenant with us as his people.
And he's the first institution.
And he's the first institution. What normally and usually ends up happening is we, the people, end up breaking our deal, our agreement with God. So we end up breaking our agreement with these institutions when we break away and do things that are not of him, that are not of the institutions, that of God. And so the institutions end up being blamed in many instances. So we have to be careful how we look at some of these institutions that promote marriage and relationship.
Awesome.
Down
awesome.
through the years, Carrie, man has been manipulating laws, institutions, rules, regulations, all of that, just to be able to suit themselves. And it is no different with marriage, and it is no different with relationships.
Yes.
Which is why we go back to the first question about the belief system, because if you don't have a belief system, then you won't be anchored and you'll be all over the place. God set down the thing, and
Yes.
all we needed to do was just live by it. But man come and enjoy the sweet favor of it and the result of it and everything. And boy, I want this for myself. So I'm going to put a law in place, or a rule in place, or an institution in place to say, no, it don't have to go so. It can go so. And that so is not necessarily the right so.
Right. Amen. It's true. Man and them greed and selfishness.
Yes,
yes. Playing with people.
Yeah, and so we have to be careful who we listen to.
Exactly.
We also have to be careful of some of the music we listen to.
And who we hold up in that high.
Yes, and what they promote.
Yep.
The values they promote. Is this good for me?
Yep.
Is this good for our relationship? You know, so we have to look at these things when making decisions about institutions.
All right. So, all right. In Jamaica, the young men who are in the streets would call themselves players, having many girls. They are shut up in the relationship world, right? And of course, for those not Jamaican, that is like having multiple partners, right? No. I heard of a situation where one of them that I know decided to marry and settle down. And it so happened that he ended up, saying him love her, his wife. They married, they settled down, everything good until around 8 months. He stepped back in the player field and cheated. What advice would you give to that wife now, that partner?
All right. So before we even go there, let us put that question into a little bit more context.
All right.
All of us, when we're getting married, we need to prepare, plan and prepare. And part of planning and preparing for marriage is to get to know the person who you are going to marry. We all wear masks and we all have facades, and we need to spend time pulling down those masks, pulling down those facades, so that we really know who it is we're dealing with. So in that question, we really don't know whether she put the time into learning who this gentleman is. So she mightn't even have known that he was a player, right? And if she knew that he was a player and she took the chance and said, okay, marriage will settle him down, oh boy. And if she then said, well, I am different, so I know he's going to settle with me, oh boy again. So you see, we really need to know who we are marrying. That's the first thing.
Yes.
I want to answer the question by looking at the back end of this situation rather than the front end, meaning it is very important where dating and courting is important. It's very important because while dating and courting, this is when you get to know your prospective husband or your prospective wives. And during that process, you really need to communicate in a particular way that you get to understand who am I with.
Yes.
Because you can be with a dangerous killer and you don't know.
Yeah.
It could be more than just a player. You could be with someone who has mental issues in his or her family that you really need to know, because you don't want to get perhaps involved with somebody like that. So it's looking at the back end is dating and courting is key, where we get to know our partners. I believe if you do that, chances are this will not happen to you. Or if it does, it does that simply mean that this person was never ever ready for marriage in the first place, and was being deceitful to his wife.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yes.
To anyone.
Yes.
You know, Carrie, we know a couple, and the gentleman once told me that his wedding was at 2 o'clock, and at 12 o'clock he was in bed with another woman.
Whoa!
Right?
Oh.
And And
okay, so
I don't know
was
if
ready.
the wife will ever find that out, but I know that they're still married. And I don't know if it was a last lap for him or a last lick. I don't know what it was. But the thing is this, I go back to what I said earlier. When you're getting married, you really don't know who you're getting married to. Whether you're in a relationship 5 months, 5 years, or 15 years, you still don't know. And
Yes.
you really just have to keep learning and knowing who you are with, right? This question is a very deep question and can take the whole day to break down. So I don't know
Yes.
if we have actually addressed your question, but what I'm saying is that my advice to this young lady would be, I mean, first of all, in talking to her, I would need to find out if she even knew that this was his background. And if she knew, if she didn't know, what is she going to do? And if she knew, what is she going to do? Because I also believe that every marriage can be healed. And I also believe that with the right input from each person, through forgiveness, through reconciliation, through talking, through counseling, through prayer, through opening up to one another, through being yourself and being true to yourself and true to your partner, anything is possible. I do believe that, but it's not just a snap of the finger thing.
Right. You can't just fix it like that.
No.
It's a process. If you need help, you need to seek it.
And for some people, it's easier. For some people, it's easier than others. Two people can sit down and have an afternoon talk and reconcile, and two other people will need a year, or they probably need separation first before they come back together. They need to seek counseling and all of that. So it's what goes down between a particular relationship is peculiar to that relationship. We cannot always judge one relationship by others, but we do learn from them as we go along.
All right. Should one remain in a relationship with their partner, say 10 to 15 years, not loving the person, but staying just for the children?
That's a difficult one.
Yeah.
That's a difficult one.
What's your take on that?
It's not healthy. That I can tell you.
Yeah.
It's not healthy. But it's a choice. It's a choice that the person makes. I am very close to home to a situation like that. And oftentimes that choice brings a cost. Because then you're talking about you personally not enjoying all areas of the relationship for the sake of your children. And what I have also experienced is that sometimes after you go through that for the sake of the kids don't really benefit from it. Because kids aren't stupid. They're not stupid. They know what's going down or not going down. And sometimes it depends on the age of the child, because it's as they grow older, they will become more aware, more sensitive to certain things. And so they will benefit, yes, from the fact that the mother and the father is in the house, but then will they benefit emotionally, spiritually, psychologically? I don't know. I personally think that if you're going to make that choice, then you need to also decide that you're going to work on the relationship, because I truly believe that love, when lost, can be refound.
They said there's a thin line between love and hate. But if you're on the love side,
Yeah. One of the most important things you can do if you're going to remain in a relationship, work on yourself. Start to introspect to see perhaps the reason why the love is not there. It's not because of him or her, maybe because of me. So start to look at yourself, look at the relationship, and perhaps look at ways to see how best the relationship can mend, not just for the sake of the child, but for the sake of the relationship on both persons.
You said this question is suggesting that only one person is having the issue and that the other person is fine, right? But that this person, whether it be the man or the woman, is deciding to stay, not feeling love, not feeling to love nor be loved, but is staying for the sake of the children. To me, that whole relationship just needs to be delved into. We need to really see what the position is of both persons. I don't like to just jump to conclusions. And
Right.
I find that that is what we human beings do a lot. We jump to conclusions without seeing what the other side of the story is. And sometimes the other side of the story is so simpler, so much simpler than you think it is complicated.
So it will require one to, really get deep and be really mature about all of this. And it's easier said than done, but it would be worth your marriage and the family.
Love is something that you
Yes.
grow, Carrie. You have to water
Grow.
it and feed it and give it some fertilizer and do
Manure.
everything. Yeah.
All the manure too.
Manure and womanure, please.
Yes, yes. And woman, you're.
Yes.
Yes. Love.
It's something that it should be natural, but it's not always natural. And sometimes you have to grow it. And if for me, for the sake of the kids, it wouldn't be just staying in a loveless relationship. It would be trying to find a way to bring back love to that relationship.
Amen.
Bring back love. Later on, there'll be somebody talking about that. Some people, right?
Thank God.
Some people profess Christianity, but yet they remain single due to trust issues. Is that unchristian-like? Does it make them selfish?
Mhm. No, it's not unchristian. If you have trust issues, I don't think it has anything to do with
Christianity.
Christianity.
Christians and non-Christians have trust issues.
Yeah.
True.
And it perhaps doesn't have anything to do with your faith. It's just a matter of past experiences.
Yes.
Maybe it is a matter of you letting down your guard too often. So people
True.
take advantage of you. So it's just a matter of learning how to trust, learning how to send out your fishing line, that when whatever comes up on that line, how best you're going to deal with those people, those situations. Because men are men, but we are different. Women are women, but we are still different. Because we are different because of our backgrounds, our history. So we have to learn how to deal with different circumstances when they come up. And sometimes we have to learn how to trust. Sometimes some of us don't know. Our past experiences are filled with untrustworthiness, and we don't know how to trust. So maybe we need to do some reading or look at some YouTube to learn how to trust.
Yeah.
See, if we don't take care of ourselves, we don't look at number one, then we don't know how to deal with other persons. So it has nothing to do with Christianity, I think.
I will say this. First of all, there are some people who profess Christianity and choose to remain single. Full stop. Not due to anything. They choose to remain single because they are giving themselves as a gift to God. This is something that St. Paul talks about in the Bible, about single blessedness. I've heard it referred to, where you just decide you're going to remain single and give your life, your body, your mind, your soul, everything to God, which that's beautiful. I will say this, when coming to trust issues, whether you're Christian or not non-Christian, trust is something that, again, like love, has to be grown and built. And when it is broken, it is very painful. It can be very painful. But if you're a non-Christian, I expect that you will react to it differently than if you are a Christian, because I'm expecting a Christian to react to it a little differently if their relationship with God is real and flourishing. So that I will say. But all of us want trust, and all of us need trust, and all of us should commit to being trustworthy.
All right. Awesome. What are the components of a good and happy marriage?
Oh, that's a list. That's another 15 minutes. You have that?
Oh, Nutshell. Bring it down.
Okay.
Top 3. No, top 5. Top 5.
All right. So we're just going to call them. We're not explaining them.
No, just call.
All right. Love, commitment. Love and commitment. Those two go hand in hand. Sexual faithfulness and intimacy. Humility, and we marry that with compromise. Patience, kindness, and forgiveness. 100% input, not 50-50. 100% input and 100% of your time to your partner. Honesty and trust and respect. Those 3 work together. Selflessness. Oh my goodness. We don't know how to do that very well, especially in these modern times.
True.
But at the same time, while you're being selfless, you're being yourself.
Yes.
Realistic expectations.
All right.
Please don't expect your partner to do what they just cannot do. And the one that we call the big C, because we call it the big C because it must be like the big C. It must be like cancer. It must spread through every cell and every part of your relationship. Communication. Please communicate, communicate, and communicate. And after that, communicate.
Amen. Well said. Thank you so much, Auntie Donna, Uncle David. All right. So they give us some awesome nuggets. People, awesome nuggets. I hope you were making notes. All right. And I'll just wrap with the last question. Make sure you have communication going.
Yes.
Realistic expectation of your partner. Be humble. Have patience. 100% input of your time to the partner. Honesty and trust must be there. Selflessness, but yet have self-love. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Chambers. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
It was a pleasure to be here. Wonderful. And
I just want to give Uncle David a gift for me.
A kiss?
Troops.
A quick we not deal with you. We deal with kiss.
5 years. Come on now.
You're lucky we never give you 35 years worth.
Probably the next show or the next conference.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You'll have to x-ray that show.
Yes. Thank you. All the best. And we'll talk. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, my people, there you have it. Straight from homeland. Auntie Donna herself, Chief Donna Marie Chambers and Uncle David Chambers. And they give it to us. They brought it. And I hope you got a lot of nuggets and something's landed for you as we move forward and propel forward in our relationships. All right.